Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. There's three things I want to talk about in today's video. Number one is my partnership with Pioneer. Number two are all my powerlifting belts that I own and when I use them or when I would not use them or what I like and don't like about them. And then lastly, giving away a free belt to you guys. So depending on why you clicked on this video and what you're most interested to hear, I'll leave timestamps in the first comment and pin it to the top in case you just want to skip to any of those. But hopefully you watch the whole thing because you guys know me. I like to give you some context. So number one, my partnership with Pioneer. Let me give you a little bit of background. If you've been watching me for any length of time, you'll know I've been wearing their belts exclusively for the past 3.5 to 4 years. I have a banner of them hanging up here, and I get questions about my banners from time to time, and they're almost always companies that I love, support, or have friends that own and operate on, and they're really just brands that I can get behind. That being said, I never really have any direct affiliation with them, so I don't have codes that you can use to get discounts or anything like that, just because I tend to stay away from that. In fact, I haven't really taken any of those in the 10 years I've been on YouTube, just because number one, I worry that people are going to think that my opinion is skewed based off of the fact that I might be monetarily compensated for that, or the fact that a lot of times when people approach me, it's from companies I've never heard of and products I've never used, and they just offer me a sponsorship or an ambassadorship or to be an athlete because I have a fairly large audience and they know I do a lot of reviews and they know you guys usually trust what I say or at least take my opinion into consideration. So I've tried to stay away from that a lot, but it kind of changed the other day when Pioneer announced that they'd be taking on a few different people. And it changed for me only because it's been so long that I've been using them and I've been doing a lot of promotion for them. I've had several of their videos on here going over different belts. I've had several videos talking about belts in general. They've always been really nice to me. And again, it's a product I've used and loved over the past couple of years. So it just seemed like a no-brainer for me to at least apply. And thankfully enough, I was approved, as was a whole bunch of other people like Alan Thrall, for example. So if you don't like me, you can't dislike Alan Thrall. So Alan Thrall is behind it, you know I can get behind it as well. And I'm really behind them because number one, their products obviously are great, but they really care about the powerlifting community and the strength community in general. I mean, they are hosting a meet this year where they're giving away like $26,000 as of the time of this video. And Matt's always been good about getting me stuff if I want it, but it's one of those things where I try not to ask for stuff. I don't like handouts necessarily. So a lot of times I will pay for stuff, but they're made right here in the USA and he really cares about what he does. He does live Instagram feeds every day showing people the process of their belt being made. He caters to special requests no matter how weird they might be. And I can just really get behind him and the company and all the people that work for him and what they do. So going forward, I'll be partnered up with them, which means for you, basically status quo around here with the channel. But if you ever wanted to order something from Pioneer, you can now use code BASEMENT for 10% off. And they do more than just belts. I use their wrist wraps, which I did a video on recently, but I actually use one of their wallets all the time as well. Nice leather wallet. They have other straps, like for my slinger right now, it's made from Pioneer. And they're getting into the products of hip circles and hopefully knee sleeves too, I believe, and even an adjustable lever belt as well, which I'm really looking forward to them coming out with. So big partnership for me, big deal for me. Hopefully if you guys buy something from them and I've been the one to turn you on to that, you'll at least use my code and save 10% on it. So then let's talk about the belts I own right now, and then we'll get to the free belt that I'm going to be giving away. And I'm going to wait till the end to say that because I want to talk about the ones I have to help you make your decision about which belt you want to get. So the first belt I'm going to show you is the first belt I ever got from Pioneer. This is a 13mm black leather belt, and it has suede on both the outside and inside. You guys are probably a little bit familiar with this design, as again, I've been wearing it for the past 3.5 to 4 years. It's held up tremendously well, as you can tell. The stitching is all still in place, nothing's fraying, falling apart, and even the white lettering on the bar don't lie has held up extremely well, and the black suede isn't anything different than ruined with chalk or something like that. This belt has really stood the test of time. The only real wear that I see is from the lever itself, and that's because I got a black matte lever, so it's basically covered in black matte. And there is some chipping here from where the metal wears and rubs on each other. But again, a lever is easily enough replaced if you need to. In fact, they even have customizable options for levers these days, which is just blowing my mind. And speaking of customizations, that's one of the reasons a lot of people are turned on to them initially, at least for me, is because they make a lot of these sweet belts. Now, again, I have the outside stitch embroidered. Inside on this one is just bare. You can get the inside done if you want as well. That does add to the cost, which is one of the reasons why I didn't do it, especially because you wouldn't be seeing it. But they really offer you some unique things. And a cool thing about this is the fact that if you come up with a sweet design, Matt, the owner of Pioneer, is really good about not duplicating that. So even if you see one you really like and you say, hey, I want that belt, he's going to tell you no because someone else took the time and effort to put it together. Or if you get permission from that person, maybe in that case, he might reproduce it. But otherwise, these are all original belts, which again, I think is a really stand up and classy move. Now that being said, I've had several of people go ahead and ask me if they could get this particular kind of belt made with a bar don't lie slogan, which I'm flattered by. And to be honest, I'll always say yes, because if you want this on your belt, then you should have it on your belt. That's fine with me by any means. But 13 millimeters, this is my daily driver. This is the one I wear almost 99% of the time. It's just something that I really liked wearing, and I haven't had any issues to go with something else. Now that being said, I still have some other belts I'm going to show you. The next one being basically the exact same thing. So the same design, it's black suede on the outside. The lever on this one is in a lot better shape because I don't wear it as much, but it has a red suede interior, and this is a 10 millimeter belt instead. So identical specs to the one I just showed you. This one is just a little bit thinner. Now that being said, I get a lot of questions from people saying, should you get a 10 or a 13 millimeter? Personally, I really think it depends on where you started. So for me, my first lever belt ever was a 13 millimeter, and going to a 10 millimeter belt just seems a little bit different. This seems like a lighter belt to me. I don't honestly know if 3 millimeters makes a difference in how much pressure and how much actual force you can put into this. But to me, it's more of a mental thing where I'm always just accustomed to 13 millimeter, and going to 10 just seems like it's not as supportive. Although again, I really doubt that that's actually true or not. That being said, I still wear this belt mostly when I start new training cycles, when I'm doing higher rep work, volume work, or I'm getting a lot of stuff in. This one actually allows me to move around a little bit better. So if I'm doing lots of squats or lots of deadlifts, getting into a position where I need to kind of bend my hips and bend over, this one feels a lot better in that general region when you're bending over. And that sounds terrible to say, but I try to work this one in because I feel like it makes me brace a little bit more on my core versus the 13 millimeter. So which one should you get? 10 millimeter more than likely is fine if you've never had a belt before. If you've had a 13 millimeter in the past, I would probably still stick with 13 millimeter, especially on the lever belts. But that again, that's just my personal opinion. So those are the first two real belts I'm going to talk about. The next belt I want to talk about is a 13 millimeter, but this one is a single prong. So you have black matte buckle. This is a single prong as well. I'll say right off the bat, I do not like prong belts for the most part, especially double prongs. Number one, prong belts can be a real pain in the ass, in my opinion, to get tight, especially if it's a 13 millimeter belt. So I would definitely not recommend a 13 millimeter double prong. A 13 millimeter single prong is still a tough sell in my opinion because the leather's a lot harder to get into a good position. But that's just personal opinion, and I'll kind of talk about why that view has changed slightly in just a minute. But to go over this black single prong buckle, in this case, where the actual belt loop is secured, you can customize that. So this has a bar don't lie slogan right there, as you can see. And in this case on the back, just a simple logo that I had put on. And the inside of this belt is red. I say that because if I try to open this, I say try. Number one, I don't wear this belt very much, so it's not very broken in. But number two, you can just tell how stiff that leather is trying to get in here. So just imagine how difficult this can be to put on or take off if you have it on super tight. And in order to change these out mid-set, this one has a red suede interior as well. So this is a good belt. If you like single prongs or double prongs, I don't. I have a hard time recommending something like this, and I find myself never wearing it because it's such a pain in the ass to put on and then more importantly, take off. So after a heavy set, if you've cinched this super tight, you're gonna struggle to take it off. That is not fun, my friends. So my opinion on prong belts in general has usually been pretty negative. I'm a big fan of a lever belt. I get the question a lot, should I go lever or should I go prong? My opinion is if you wear your belt in the same position and the same tightness for all the lifts, so in my case, squat and deadlift, it makes the most sense to get a lever. Very quick, easy on off. You don't have to do a lot of adjusting because again, you like the same tightness and in the same position. No big deal, go lever. If you're the type of person who likes to have a different level of tightness from squats to deadlift or a different position on your belt on how high up it is on your chest and sternum, then you should probably go prong belt because that allows for some adjustability between those different lifts and you don't have to break out, like a screwdriver or a coin or changing that lever back and forth or settle for something in between. A lever belt probably in that an option is more than likely a better choice. Now again, I still wasn't a big fan of lever belts until Pioneer came out with what they call the Pioneer Cut, and I've done a complete video on this. So this particular belt is suede. It's 10 millimeters. In fact, it's actually less than 10 millimeters. I'd say it's probably more around 8.5 millimeters, just because when you take account to how thick a piece of leather is and then how much the suede adds, it's probably right around 8.5 to 9 millimeters. This is gray. The Pioneer cut allows for some precision in terms of where you put this belt. So instead of 1-inch increments in the holes, like you might have over here, you now have 1/2-inch increments, which really lets you adjust this better. So if you're trying to get this tighter, it's almost an easier way to slide in and out. And again, I've done a whole video on that. If you want to see that, I'll link it in the description box below. As far as the customization on this particular belt goes, it still has the bar don't lie, a little bit different font. It's black in this case as well, but still the logo in the center. And I really like this belt as well. This is the belt that I use when I travel, only because I find when I travel, I tend to eat a little bit worse than normally at home, tend to bloat up a little bit, feel a little worse, probably go out drinking a little bit more because I'm traveling for work. And I don't really know where my belt's gonna sit on any given day. My weight can fluctuate 5 to 10 pounds for each day that I'm gone. So I wanna make sure that I can easily get my belt in place, and this belt helps me do so. Not to mention it's just about 10 millimeters. I should probably measure these for these videos, but it's easier to roll up and keep in a bag versus a lever belt. And again, it allows for easy adjustment, much so more than a standard prong belt. So I really like this one for traveling, and I always bring it when I travel and train, and it's been great from that point. So I have one more belt I'm gonna show you. This one's a little bit different. So this is still a Pioneer belt, but you'll actually see it's branded by Iron Tanks. Be good if I held this up the right way. So it has an Iron Tanks buckle and also Iron Tanks on the rear. This is a leather belt, and you can definitely smell that leather. The reason I have this is even though it's made by Pioneer, Iron Tanks has gone above and beyond by basically paying for this belt to be IPF approved. A7 does something similar where they outsource through Pioneer to get the belt, put their label on it, but they've paid for IPF approval because up until this point, Pioneer belts are not IPF approved unless it's an Iron Tanks or A7 branded version of it. Just goes to show you how stupid the IPF is when it comes to some of this. Literally the exact same belts, but because someone paid to put their name on it and paid for the actual registration fee, you can wear one that says one of their company names on it. Now this thing's pretty unique, number one, because it's the only real leather on both side belts I own. And then also if you take a look at the actual part where the lever connects, you can probably see that this one's actually a little bit tapered. So where the belt overlaps on your waist, this is tapered so it doesn't stick out as far, so you get a little bit better fit. And even though this is an extremely nicely crafted belt, it's IPF approved, this leather in 13 millimeters like this one is here, it hurts. The suede ones I find sit a little bit better on my hips. They don't tend to bruise as much or eat into my skin. This one is tough, and maybe it's just because I haven't broken it in well enough, but this one hurts to wear. And although it's nice to have IPF approval, it's nice to look at, it's really nice to smell if you like leather, I don't find myself wearing it that often because it really digs into my hips and eats into me, which I am not a fan of. So there's this belt, really nice. If you need IPF approval, this one or the A7 one, you still get that same Pioneer level quality, but you're able to wear it in some of those federations if that's what you happen to compete in. So those are the 5 Pioneer belts I own. Like I said, I'm a big fan of all of them. My go-to is the 13 millimeter leather suede belt, but I also like the 10 millimeter suede, leather suede, I should say, Pioneer cut belt for traveling. But overall, I don't think you can go wrong, especially when you factor in how customizable these belts can be. So that being said, I told you I was going to do a giveaway. So as part of this ambassador program, I'm going to try to give away more free stuff to you guys through Pioneer. And in this case, I'm giving away a free lever or a free Pioneer cut belt. This is going to be just a stock option, so you're not going to be able to customize it because I'm paying and funding for all this, and I don't make that much money. So I'm going to go ahead and give one away for free. So you have the choice of either a lever or a Pioneer cut ones, and I'll put the ones up here that I'll be giving away on. In order to win these, you need to go to the Instagram post where I talk about this, which I will link directly in the comment section below, but you need to act quickly because I'm only going to be running the program through February 16th, which is this coming Sunday. So hopefully by the time you see this video, which should be Thursday, February 13th, you only really have 2 or 3 days in order to go in. It's very simple. I'm not going to make you tag your friends and spam them to subscribe and follow to me. All you have to do is you have to follow me, because if you're not following me, I'm not giving you anything for free. But then number two, just tell me which belt you want, and I'll pick somebody on Sunday and we'll give you a free belt. And like I said, I think you'll be very pleased with these, as I have been over the past 3.5 years. Other than that, if you do choose to order anything from Pioneer, again, I'd appreciate if you use my code BASEMENT to save 10%. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.